5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Spirit of respect, authenticity, and reconciliation, establish a lake honors and acknowledge
Is that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sawridge First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. Councillor Hughes,
Motion to accept the agenda as presented.
motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I need Andrew's face.
Sorry, we need to see Andrews.
There we go. Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, first up, we have our CAO special report. Jeff, if you would like to.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The purpose of the report is to notify the town of Slave Lake Council of the recent resignation of Councillor Ferguson. So earlier this morning, the Chief Administrative Officer received in writing the formal resignation of Councillor Bryce Ferguson, which is effective immediately. Referring to the Municipal Government Act, resignation section 161, sub 1, the resignation of a councillor must be in writing and given to the Chief Administrative Officer. Sub 2, a chief elected official appointed by council who resigns the office of chief elected official remains on the council as a councillor. 3, the resignation is effective on the dates received by the CAO, even if a later date is settled in the resignation. And 4, the CAO must report the resignation at the first council meeting after receiving the resignation. So the necessary steps of resignation have been followed. In accordance with the MGA, the vacancy in position of a councillor, as per section 162, a council must hold a by-election to fill a vacancy on council unless the vacancy occurs after January 1st in the year of a general election, or B, council consists of 6 or more councillors and the vacancy occurs sub 1 in the 18 months before the general election and there is only 1 vacancy, or in the 12 months before the general election and the number of councillors remaining is at least 1 more than the majority of number of councillors comprising the council under section 143. So at this time, there's no need to hold a by-election as the Town of Slave Lake Council has 6 remaining councillors and the resignation has occurred less than 18 months before the general election. Your options today are just to receive the report as information.
Councillor Adams.
Make a motion to accept as information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Next up, we have our delegation. Staff Sergeant Bruins, if you want to come up here to the mic, please, sir. And this is for our Q1 municipal policing report.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hope you're enjoying the summer, as am I. So this is Q1 report. So this is going to be April, May, and June of 2024. So just to start off, some of you may have been in the meeting. We met in March of this year to go over our detachment's priorities for this fiscal year. We also met with the reeve of our MD and some of the councillors from the MD as well. So the 3 priorities that were identified were property crime in the community, enhancing public confidence and engagement, and prolific and repeat offenders. Based on that, we developed our detachment performance plan for this year. I'll just go through some items just in case you're curious under each section. So under the property crime section, there was hotspot patrols, industrial patrols, rural patrols, and bait item deployments. Under the community engagement was town hall meetings, interactions with community groups, media briefs completed, and assisted community was starting up a COP program. And under the repeat offenders, it was proactive interactions with prolific offenders and warrants executed. So each of those had a set goal. I can comment on a few of them. In terms of bait item deployments in the first quarter, we did do one. Sadly, no one stole it. I don't want to get into what the items were specifically. One was a truck. One was a large piece of equipment that we've seen stolen in the past, but sadly, even moving around town a few times, it didn't get stolen. So that had to be returned to headquarters. We plan to do another project here. I'll just say in the near future, without getting too many specifics there. Media briefs, the plan was to do at least 24 for the year. We're already at 9. I'm doing a monthly media brief, basically a newsletter showing all our stats, calls for service. I just came back from leave yesterday. I have this month's completed. I'm just waiting to confirm the date and time of Coffee with a Cop, which we're also doing this year, once a month. I'm just waiting to hear back from the coffee shop to confirm they're good with that again this month. And that'll be sent out tomorrow. That'll be a little bit more in depth in some of the stats. In the quarterly report, it'll say how many calls we get for the month. You may have seen last month's. I know Jeff posted it to the town site there, but it should have how many calls for service for like assaults or breaking it, like causing disturbance, suspicious persons, that kind of thing. So I think the public likes to, I've heard comments from last month that they like seeing more of a breakdown. So I'm going to continue to do that every month. Going forward, couple other things. I'll just go through the report itself. So for the fourth quarter in a row, property crime did go down 6.8% this time, which is great to see. Obviously, that's still an area of focus. We're not going to not focus on that area, but some other areas of note, we've got a lot of disturbing the peace, which is basically drunk person around town. That has gone up significantly. I know I've been pushing for people to call in suspicious persons and property and stuff like that. When you see the newsletter that'll go out tomorrow, there was a lot last month. I think 75 different calls regarding that. So that may relate to that a little bit. Provincial acts has gone way up because members have been being very proactive in terms of vehicle stops, tickets, check stops, that kind of thing. After the homeless encampment disbanded in June, we came up with a temporary plan where members were going to be more proactive with vehicle stops, prolific offender checks. There's goals been set for each member and check stops. And I have gotten comments from people saying they have seen us out and about a little bit more the last few months, which we appreciate. That's kind of the gist of that. In terms of membership, we're down one constable, one corporal. The constable spot, I was told, I think it was yesterday or the day I went on vacation, that we're getting a cadet to fill that role. They'll be here in, I think, 8 weeks, 7 or 8 weeks. The corporal spot has been posted for promotion. It's been down now for about a month, so I would anticipate hearing something on that within the next month or two. I guess lastly, and I just got this yesterday. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of or heard of the CSI, the Crime Severity Index. It basically tracks the amount of crime reported to police and the relative seriousness of those crimes. You always hear like the most dangerous city in Alberta or Canada. That's based on the CSI. So I can say for, like I said, I just got this yesterday. Slave Lake went down 11 spots this last year, or 19.1%. So we're now 32nd in the province. I'll check to see if I can share this with you guys. I'm not sure. But I'll check and I'll let Jeff know if I can share this with you guys, if you guys want to look at it. But just some areas around us, just to give some context. We're actually tied with Athabasca at 32nd. Mayor Thorpe, Bonnyville, the Duke, Peace River, all those are kind of spots all around us. Top of the list is Chauté, Maquis, Wood Buffalo, which is Fort Mac, Wabasca is 5th. Red Earth Creek, which is around us, is 9th. So yeah, it's good to see that drop. Again, that's based on just the amount of crime reported to us and the seriousness of those crimes. So other than that, I'll answer any questions you guys have.
So my question is going to revolve a little bit around property crime. I understand the statistics show that there's a 7% decline from 2023 to 2024 over the same quarter. A lot of that has to do with the mischief numbers, because the numbers that are up and are higher than majority of the previous years are break and enter, theft of a motor vehicle, theft over 5,000, theft under 5,000, and then the mischief damage to property. So while all those individual categories have gone up, what's gone down is mischief other from 109 to 34. So then looking at it statistically speaking, overall, yes, it's down 7%, but the property crime has in those areas obviously increased between the months of April, May, and June, because again, we're reporting those months. And that's ultimately what we were seeing when we looked around. So what is our, I understand that you mentioned at the beginning of this that we're going to continue to focus on property crime. How so?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the quarter, April, there's definitely a spike in some mischief and break and enters. We had our GI team target a couple of people based on some source data, and they were actually able to identify some persons responsible, arrest and charge them. And we saw definitely a sharp decrease after that. A lot of those people are still in custody. So I think there was a spike there at the beginning of April. We instituted a minimum of prolific offender checks for each member. So members are constantly doing that. If you notice, the breach charges or fail to comply charges, excuse me, have also risen. That's because we're laying a lot of fail to comply charges for our prolific offenders. We're not really giving them any discretion, right? So we don't like these people as much as you or any of the property owners here in town or business owners. So we're not giving any breaks on those. So we're continuing to do our condition checks. There's a couple other things in the works that we're working on for next quarter. I'll get to next quarter because I don't want to ruin them. But yeah, in terms of any questions or anything you guys have, I plan on coming to the next couple of council meetings just in case something pops up. So if something doesn't come to mind tonight, something that just came to my mind, I think it was Councillor Adams, you had asked about last council meeting about more of a monthly breakdown on stuff. I did get a lengthy response on that. The short answer is no, but there's a lengthy answer as to why. I had the email printed on my desk. I forgot it. So I'll bring it next week. And if you want, I can go over with you kind of thing. So.
And then next Wednesday is the town hall still?
Yes. Yes. So Celeste Benz-Miller is our community safety and wellbeing liaison for Eastern Alberta District. She's going to be doing a presentation on, I think Zoom or whatever the online portal is. She's going to be dialing in or whatever you call it for that. It's going to be based on some of the higher risk and higher crime areas in town and what can be done. She does a lengthy report up on each community about suggestions and recommendations and tips. I know I shared with Jeff here. I can't remember the other community in Alberta, just so he can have a look at it. Essentially, it's done up so that the town could then apply for some grants to pay for some of the suggestions. So I know Jeff had mentioned he would like to see something possibly done like that for our town. And she seemed to be agreeable to that. So we'll ask her about that next week.
Councillor Adams.
You made a comment there about increased visibility and patrols. I have had a number of people around town comment on that actually. So
Okay.
good that that's changing. I know that doesn't impact this report, but for the next report, we should, I appreciate the effort the RCMP is going towards on that. Some of the things, what are some of the other pieces that we touched on the 21st for the town hall? Is there some other public engagement you got coming up that we should know about, or what are the things that are happening so that the public can get involved a little more too?
Well, I'm doing a monthly Coffee with COPPA, bringing a different member with me every month. We did one last month. It was advertised in our newsletter and on the Alberta RCMP online. I don't know if it was Facebook or Twitter, X, whatever you call it nowadays. And sadly, there's only a couple of people that showed up. There was more the month before. I'm hoping more attend this month. We've been varying the times. Hopefully more people come out and see me. I know in the newsletter last month, I just said, if anyone has any questions or any comments, anything, please email me. I'll gladly get back to you. No problem. I've heard nothing. Zero emails, zero calls, nothing. So that's the same information is going to be in the newsletter released tomorrow. I encourage anyone, hey, if you got a question about anything, either call me, email me, if you don't like to talk on the phone, or come down.
Continue.
Keep going.
Yep.
I appreciate the effort going forward to get the public involved more in that. So that's good. Another thing I was wondering about is how is your partnership developing or going on with Citizens on Patrol, and how's that program? Is it assisting? Is it how's it working for you guys?
So that was one of our points under the public confidence and engagement this year. That was to assist the community in starting that up. It actually started extremely quickly. Usually that takes half a year to a year kind of thing. It was up within, I think 2 months, month and a half to 2 months at the beginning of this fiscal year. So there is a detachment liaison assigned. I know I have met with a couple, I think the chair, a couple of them a few times. And Sergeant Schilliker is assigned as the liaison officer, so any questions, they usually just email or call him. And he will assist them with whatever they need. In terms of them interacting with us, they know the protocol to contact us should they come across something as a danger or suspicious, that kind of thing. So we just respond and calls accordingly if they call us.
Have we seen a lot of responses, or has there been a number that have we seen something in action where COP's called in, you've responded, we've seen a result or not?
I
Not
get, every morning I get, I go through all the files that occurred throughout the night, and nothing's jumping out at me immediately. It hasn't been a major substantive thing that jumps out at me immediately. Having said that, I may have missed one off the top of my head. I can double check with Sergeant Schilliker and maybe let you know next week or whatever there, but nothing jumps out at me immediately right off the top of my head. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mollem.
So if something was to happen in the evening, does the COP contact like a dispatch, or is it through like an officer on duty in the evenings?
So in the old days, when we had this maybe 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, they used to have a radio, right? They'd come to our detachment, get a flat. This was before cell phones, really. They get a flashlight and a radio. Our radios have since become encrypted, and everyone's got a flashlight on their phone. So they don't come to the detachment per se to do that anymore. However, they're instructed to call our dispatch number should something happen, right?
Councillor Hughes.
So what'd you call it? CIS report that you referenced?
CSI.
CSI, thank you. Sorry, was that year over year? When you said that?
I believe this is 2020. This just came out. It was for 2023.
2023.
Yeah.
So for 2023 versus 2022, we dropped 11 spots.
That's correct.
Okay. And is that report is like Alberta wide, including little hamlets, municipal districts, towns, cities, everything?
Yeah, so the report includes the provincial detachments as well as the municipal ones. So we're actually on the list twice. The municipal detachment, which is the one I'm reporting on now, is 32nd. The provincial one is 37. So they're a little bit lower. That's our MD.
Okay.
But every spot that is in the same boat as us would be reported the same way. So you either see municipal, but it's all on the same list. So just in terms of total, I can tell you the total communities for the province, 132, I believe. 146. So the last one on here would be Tabor.
And work community number.
32.
Jeff, it looked like you wanted to try.
Yeah, I'll just give you a little more clarity. So the CSI is the Crime Severity Index, and it's actually it's a program mandated by law through StatsCan. So this is a federal tracking of all police services, not just the RCMP. So you have all different jurisdictions reporting. And it is, as staff had explained, it is a mixture of the frequency and the number of calls, and in each sort of type of occurrence that the police investigate, or each type of crime has a certain, let's say, a point system involved with it, right? So if you have, and just like any other sort of point system or average system, if you have one or two, very serious offenses take place, you'll see, a significant impact on that average, on that crime severity index. So if you had a community that had a homicide or a murder or an attempted murder or something along those lines, that may be the only crime that they have, you'll see them jump significantly higher on that crime severity index year over year, just based on the weight and the seriousness and the level, the points essentially that are associated to that sort of offense.
Okay.
So it's a national rating system. It's a measure that's implemented through Statistics Canada. It should be publicly available. I think you'll probably find and confirm.
Yeah, I'll find out if this specific report is, and I'll email it to you tomorrow. I'll find out.
I think you have a question from Councillor Choba online there.
Councillor Choba, go ahead.
Yep.
Thank you. First of all, I want to start by saying to Staff Sergeant Casey that a lot of people in the community have seen the improved efforts from you and your team. And so I just wanted to commend you for that, and your team. So it has gone around that lots of people are saying that it's good improvement. So thank you and your team for that. I think early this year you had mentioned something about a drone system that was supposed to be used. Any update on that? And if that's being used? I've not seen so much of a report on kind of how that is being used. So I was just kind of checking to see that if I'm missing something around that.
Yeah, sure. First, I appreciate that. Secondly, we do have it. We got it maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago. We have one member trained to operate it. He's used it on several calls for service. Usually it's a missing person kind of call, like either over the lake or in the forested area in the MD, that kind of thing, because it does have thermal imaging on it. So we have used it a few times. It's not something that we use every day, but when we get a call for service for it, we have it available. It's not the version that they can fly remotely. Like someone from Edmonton can't just turn it on and start flying it. It requires a local operator, and we do have a member trained on that. And I know at least 3 calls off the top of my head he's used it on. So it's available, and we have used it.
Anything further? Counselor Wallem?
Yeah, I do want to commend you and your department. I've heard the same feedback. We are seeing it out in the public more often. I'm definitely noticing it with even my eyes that it's good to see you and your department definitely stepping up, and it is getting noticed by not just me, by a number of people in our community. I just want to ask, has having Apex Security and Citizens on Patrol alleviated some of the stress on the station at all?
I guess first question would be, do you read the Apex reports that come out every day, or?
I do look at them. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if the other councillors or the mayor have,
Every day.
people noted in them are, I can tell you historically, I've dealt with for 14 years. They're the same people that we're dealing with all the time. So I would say, yeah, it's nice that we're not having to potentially shuffle someone along. Having said that, they're just moving to another spot, right? They're not really leaving. But yeah, the only, I guess, stat for that I can see is we have gotten a lot more disturbing the peace calls. I don't know if that's related. In terms of calls based on either from the Apex Security or them assisting us with something, I know the generator report that I'll have by the end of the month for that. The last time I checked, it was around 10 calls, something like that, since that started, that either they've called us directly or we've noticed something that they've noted that we thought we should follow up on, even without them asking us to. So that last I checked, there was about 10 times. So.
I just had one more, just a question. Sorry, I did go to Coffee with a Cop, I think a couple of months ago. It was a real big turnout for it. I thought that was a really good idea. I like the idea of having it kind of monthly. I think over the summer months, you are going to see a little bit of a dip with attendance there. But I found that, having it at the coffee shop had its pros and cons. So definitely, it was easy for people to get to, it was accessible. But at the same time, I think sometimes, maybe some of the topics or some of the discussion kind of stopped or didn't carry momentum when, just guests were kind of coming in and just grabbing a coffee so I don't know if maybe that's something to look at, is just maybe having something maybe a little bit more private, I guess, just as accessible, but maybe like the Legion or something like that.
Yeah, I can look into that. I know I want to do either next month. I'm trying to do something in the MD as well. Just because we police a large area, and a lot of residents in the MD don't travel to town very often. But when they do, they come here to shop and stuff. So they may have concerns from town too. So that's the plan for next month, to do one in the MD, but I'll check with the Legion. I'm not sure. I know they let us use their facilities usually for free. So I don't think they have a huge issue with it, but I'll check. Would there be one follow-up on my end? is there a time of day that you, like, we've done morning, afternoon, later in the day, earlier in the days, or something that might jump out to you as a little bit better?
No, I think everyone's schedule varies. I mean, it's so difficult to find a place. I think you just kind of gotta try a whole bunch of different things and find out what works.
I think we're gonna try noon hour. Maybe people can pop in for a minute too. It's just, we try the morning, late afternoon.
Yep.
I just want more of a mix, but if you have any other suggestions, just let me know.
Yep. No, will do. Thanks. Casey?
I was going to ask about that. I'm glad that you are varying the times. I think the one comment I had from the first one was that people were still in work and they really wanted to come, but they just couldn't make it due to their work schedule. So, but I understand what you're shooting for there. And I think varying the times and location would probably be a good idea.
I'm not a coffee drinker, but I would assume later at night, people are probably not gonna want coffee.
Yes, well, decaf, tea,
Gotcha.
something else, right? But yeah, just another comment from me as well. I just want to agree with my council colleagues. I do feel like there has been an increased presence that has been noted by myself, and I have had other good comments, which is amazing. And I hope that that continues and grows as needed. And I did also want to say that I do like the monthly breakdown that you are doing. One thing that I've been asking for, I know, is communication to residents, clear communication that they can understand and results that we can see. And so I hope that that clearly is your plan moving forward, and I hope that that continues. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And you should see, like I said, July stats out tomorrow.
That'll be great. My concern mostly after this meeting today is that we're in the CSI index, we are in the top third of the worst communities in Alberta with regards to crime severity. And while I'm glad that we moved down 11 points, to me, that's a huge area for improvement, both municipally speaking and what we can do with regards to town bylaws, but also what we can do with regards to municipal policing. So I think moving forward, I look forward to whatever's going to address that you can come up with on policy end, because to me, while it's fantastic that we moved down 11 spots, I still find that statistic, and yes, it is a statistic, but I find it deeply concerning. But that being said, I really appreciate everything. And next Wednesday, it is here, 7 p.m. That is the town hall with the presentation from the crime prevention. Ms. Beth Muller, right? That is, perfect.
Yep.
So 7 p.m. and that was in council chambers.
Yep.
Just for everyone. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
I'll stick around for a bit if you guys got any other questions.
You are welcome to join us. We don't get an audience very often in person. So hello to everyone that has also joined us. Nice to see all of you. Thank you. Harry and Heather Bartlett, hello. Usually you watch online, so it is nice to see you. Very nice to see you in person, so thank you. Is there any business arising from the delegations? Oh, we have to have motion to accept that as information. Would someone like to do that, please? Counselor Adams.
Motion to accept as information.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Now, I don't see any business arising from delegations. Anyone have anything? As I see none, we'll move forward into reports and new business. Report 5A, Administrative Rates Bylaw 16, 2024. Updated user rates for electric vehicle charging station and employer application for rural renewal program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this report is to update the administrative rates bylaw pertaining to electric vehicle charging station and employer application rural renewal program. Administration presented 1-year usage report for the charging station located at MRC during last meeting held on July 9th. Based on the discussion that day, update to user rate is required to ensure operational cost recovery. Also from Corporate Services Department, they are also requesting update to the employer application rural renewal program due to increased workload and time spent on managing the portfolios. The changes in the bylaw are as follows. So for EV charger user rates, the rate for the use of electric vehicle charging stations shall be 97 cents per kilowatt hour. Based on 1-year usage report, the increased rates will allow full expense recovery. The charging hardware manufacturer Flow is in process of rolling out per kilowatt charge model in Canadian market. They confirm it will be a few weeks before we can adopt per kilowatt hour charge for our charger. Until then, the existing rate of $20 per hour will be continued to charge the users for the EV charger at MRC. For employer application rural renewal program, currently a one-time nominal fee of $100 is charged per employer application under rural renewal program. However, due to increasing workload and time spent on managing the program, changes to the fee structure is required. The proposed new change ensures a proportionate charge for registered employers, which will be based on letters of endorsement issued. The current charge of $100 per employer application doesn't reflect the resource requirement for managing the rural renewal stream program. The new rate will be changed from $100 per employer application to $100 per letter of endorsement issued. A notification will be sent out to all registered employers of the rural renewal program explaining the changes to the fee structure. Administration recommends council adopt the administrative rates bylaw number 16-2024.
Councilman Wallem.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Kush. I like the changes that were made. I definitely agreed when we discussed about the EV charger, just changing that a little bit. I think there are two kind of new concepts. I think we worked with them for a little while, and now I think we're finding what a better solution would be. I also think that the new rate under the rural renewal stream is more fair for the work that needs to be done. Other than that, if no one has any questions, I'll just make a motion.
Councilor Adams.
In regards to the EV rate, I thought the motion, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the motion was to put it to 80 cents. And it's already passed. Because we discussed that the math worked out to about 97 cents, I think was the rough calculation. And I thought we had decided to slightly subsidize for a period of time.
I think administration attempted, we found that 80 cents still wasn't meeting the goal of cost recovery.
We were aware of that.
That's, yeah. So, I mean, we can still amend that right now at this place to put it at 80 cents if you so wish. But the direction on the report that Kush has before you was in an effort to try to be as close to cost recovery as possible. So if council, we can make that amendment right here at the stage for 80 cents, or we could leave it at where.
I guess just a point of order to understand, we've already made a motion to make it 80 cents.
We made a motion for a report to come back, not for the bylaw motion. That was
Yeah, sure.
I'm
Pull it up.
80, they're looking it up right now,
Yeah.
but I'm 80%
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing the
Nope.
point.
I personally, while we're on the 80 versus 97, I prefer cost recovery, and I did in that meeting as well. So for consistency purposes, my preference is to be the 97. Yes.
We had that discussion at that meeting as well, and the majority at that time decided to slightly subsidize for a short period of time. I know it was a split vote from what I remember, but that's where I thought we had decided to match what Falair was doing at their rates. And as no one else anywhere near us is at the 97 cent mark, the highest one was at 97, or it was at 80 cents.
I thought it was to come back with a recommendation for a rate. I thought that was the motion, but we'll just we'll give them a moment.
And also I reached out to Flair and we did had a conversation with, it's actually MD of Smoky Lakes. That's the operator of that charger.
Okay.
And they did say that they commissioned it just in April this year. So it's not long ago. And they are still tracking their data. So they are still not sure if the 80 cents, they are undercharging or overcharging the customers.
That was just what they had settled on from April till
Yes.
current.
Yes.
That was correct. The motion did refer to 80 cents.
It did refer to 80 cents. Then that's what we wanted to see come back.
That was the motion that was passed. Yeah. The
Or
exact.
was it to
wording.
come back as a report? What's the exact wording? Was it?
Yeah, so the wording was moved to task administration to set the EV charger user rates at 80 cents per kilowatt hour.
I thought it was for a report to come back. That was my mistake.
Yeah, because we were supposed to adopt through administrative rates bylaw. So I think that's where,
Okay, that's where I got confused.
Yeah.
So change it, or do we have to wait?
so just to give you, like, we did look at some scenarios. If we do 80 cents, so our full cost recovery is at 97 cents per kilowatt hour. If you do 80 cents kilowatt hour, then we are subsidizing by 17.88%, so almost 18%. There are also two scenarios in that with respect to subsidy, like, because every electricity bill we pay to ATCO, there is a franchise fee that's collected back to Slave Lake. So we also should we consider Slave Lake franchise fee in calculation or not for recovery? So if we want to collect that franchise fee, then yes, it would be, we would be subsidizing at 18%. If we don't want to collect that, we want to let it go, then we will be subsidizing at 8.7%, right? So 9%. So altogether, since 1 year, we have the franchise fee collected from the usage was at least $1,023.64.
Counselor Adams.
Okay, when we talk percentages, it sounds dramatic. When we're saying 17% subsidization, what's that in dollar figures?
I would say, because it was
Couple grand,
10
right?
Yeah, so you're looking at $1,500 to $1,600.
Yeah, for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about, subsidizing is $1,500.
Right, and I still don't agree with it, but like I get that it's not.
Not as dramatic.
It's not as dramatic. I do agree with you on that. I still don't agree with subsidizing any of it. Because I think that's individual's choice on what vehicle they choose. But we went to that all the last time. So now the point of procedure is the report had said 80 cents. So does this then need to change to that? Because that was what was council's decision at the time.
That was the motion.
That was the motion. So I'm directing my question to the CAO.
I believe the bylaw would supersede that decision. Whatever decision you make today as it relates to the bylaw would supersede that motion. If you changed your mind or you didn't pass, just because you passed the motion to 80 cents doesn't necessarily obligate you for the bylaw to have gone through on its own anyway.
Okay.
Right? So my opinion or advice would be that whatever decision you make today would be binding as it relates to that, as we're dealing with it within the bylaw.
Sure. Counselor Adams.
Well, then it's up for discussion. I'll say, I want to keep pace with what some of our neighboring communities are. We will still be one of the highest ones there. And the additional benefit we get by having people stop here as they travel through, I think far exceeds the $1,600 we're looking at, because they're starting to plan those routes through our area instead of going around by Whitecourt. Thankfully, theirs have broken down. So that's, I think, why we see an uptick here. So to put that away while they're parked for that half hour, whatever they're needing to top up, they're spending money here. They're going out for lunch. They're seeing what's in Slave Lake and maybe they come back. I think that's worth $1,600.
Counselor Hughes.
Yeah, I would actually agree with Councillor Adams on that statement as well. I think when we initially did this, I was okay with the subsidizing from the town based on that exact fact that this does have an economic impact for businesses, and it kind of puts us on the map, even a little bit of a tourism element there as well, which I can appreciate. So I think this is maybe a great happy medium to go with your recommendation of the 80 cents. It still puts us a little bit up here and keeps us a little bit on par, but still, it makes us attractive to come through the community and keeps us in that middle ground. So I'd be happy with that.
Counselor Moalen.
No, this is just a question. Do you remember or can you find out what Whitecap, they had the same sort of charger and what they were charging? I just want to make sure that we're not.
$25.80 an hour.
Oh, they were still, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But that's not the same class, right?
No, it's a 50 kilowatt, so half the size of our charger.
Yeah, I thought it was the same.
No.
Sorry, I know out of order, sorry. Just to clarify, you were saying you're fine with where it's at. What were you mean by where it's at? The 80 or the 97?
No, I'd be fine with the 80.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Adams.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we change the rate from 97 cents per kilowatt hour to 80 cents per kilowatt hour in this here.
In the bylaw.
In the bylaw. Thank you.
So we have
So
definitely.
we have to
Amend it first and then pass through.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. All those opposed. And that is carried. I would suggest Counselor Hughes.
She beat me to it.
I move that council gives first reading to administrative rates bylaw number 16-2024.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. All those opposed, oh, okay, sorry, there was a delay, and that is carried. Counselor Moam.
I'll move that council give second reading to administrative rates bylaws number 16-2024.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. That is carried. Counselor Adams.
I move that council gives unanimous consent to third reading of administration rates bylaw 16-2024.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Counselor Choba.
I move that council gives third reading to administrative rates bylaw 16-2024.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you, Kush.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next report, Jeff.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to request the Town of Slave Lake Council to make a decision on the current homeless shelter operations suspension. At the May 21st regular council meeting of council, Town of Slave Lake Council came to a decision to suspend shelter operations until November 1st, 2024, pending further review. With the fall season coming soon, administration is asking the Town of Slave Lake Council to provide direction with current suspension of operations and to prepare accordingly. Options before you tonight are to continue the suspension of operations and to not operate starting November 1st, 2024. Or option 2, to resume operations starting November 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Counselor Adams.
I'll kick it off.
Great.
This is always a fun one. As you know, what my position was at the last one, to do a full shutdown. I understand the reasoning behind it, but not necessarily in favor of it. Our ongoing efforts or efforts from the past, it kind of got away from us in how it was the scope, I feel, of what was being taken on was more than what the intent was that we thought we were taking on. That compiled with the homeless encampments being disbanded in the city of Edmonton put exorbitant pressure on numerous communities, and we're not alone in that one. And unfortunately, it did cause a problem here for what I would say is our usual homeless group. I do feel we'd be remiss not to have any operations. I would like us to explore a better operational framework around this and maybe be back into the idea that we were originally in with Life and Limb, not a shelter. The intent was not to be a shelter. We call it that, but that was never the intent. It was meant as a MAP program, for lack of a better term, so people didn't die at night when it's -57 like it hit last year. For us to totally abandon this, I think is a mistake. And I think this is something we need to explore quickly and try and do something over the winter.
I will chime in. I agree with you, Councillor Adams, that the scope of the project that we thought we were taking on was significantly less than what actually ended up being tasked with the funding that was received. We've seen the number of our homeless population in town grow, not decline. And then our shelter had to be basically facilitated in a direction that I'm not comfortable with, because our community is not capable of providing the step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that come after you have a 24/7 shelter. There are more steps than just that one in place. Councillor Gromlich had made the motion to cease operations until the community could get public safety in order. So we have security. I believe we have a better relationship with policing, and we have a lot more public awareness now than we have ever had in town. Unfortunately, in my opinion, even with all these things in place, we still have no supports in place in town from the province to help transition people to get the medical attention that they need. So we don't have all of these We've made a lot of gains, I would say, in municipal policing and in community safety over the last few months. A lot of that has to do with our residents caring about their community, and Citizens on Patrol is a good example of that. But we don't have any additional supports in our community to address the growing homeless population that, as I do believe, is a result of some of our major centers basically transporting people to outside rural communities. It did happen quite frequently. So without the supports in place to transition people to get the medical attention that I need, I am not in favor of going through that again. We tried to run it as a town, and I think there is a lot of I'm not sure what the right word is. I think there's something to be said for admitting when things don't work out like you had hoped, and not repeating the same errors as you continue to go forward. And I take a trip back to April and what it felt like walking around our community, and we haven't received the assistance that we need with regards to step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I am not in favor of continuing operations. Councillor Mollem.
When this was first brought to council, I want to say I was very excited to potentially be a part of a pilot project that could be used across Alberta with communities of our size. I had hoped that, everything that we had planned, everything that we had looked at would work. And 1 year down the road, we would be talking about our successes with the program. It didn't take, a year ago doesn't seem like it's been that long, but in that year, we've had to step up as a community in regards to crime, in regards to safety. We've had volunteers step up and create the Citizens on Patrol. We've also had volunteers step up and create the Slave Lake Cleanup Crew, which have gone through our community. And on top of that, we've had to look at contracting another security company to help alleviate some of the stresses that are on the current RCMP detachment. So in that 1 year, to just have all of that happen in 1 year just seems like, so much for a community the size of ours. So I would like to see maybe a smaller MAT program, but what we put together this last year did overwhelm and cost a lot of, I think, mental stress on our community and our counselors and administration. So I don't think I would support it in the same format that it was presented last year.
Councillor Hughes.
No, that makes ready up. Yeah, so I appreciate everyone's candid comments tonight. I think for me, since shutting down the shelter, I think as a council and as a community, we've made great strides to improve things here within the town. And I definitely feel like we're on the right track. For me, my concern would be reopening this, at least under the model that we had. That's a huge concern for me in terms of crime and just the impact that it has had on residents in the community, especially in the Northwest area. And for me, when Councillor Grummock did decide to, make his motion there beginning of summer to shut that down, I was in full support of that at the time, after actually going out and understanding and really connecting with people and seeing how this is impacting them. I also think that there is an element to this to be said for the actual homeless people who are living in our community, that they actually were feeling unsafe as well. And so I think there's that element there too, that I think we would be remiss in ignoring the fact that I don't think that they were actually getting the help that they needed under this program anyways. So with, those thoughts in mind, I think I'm leaning towards more what Mayor Ward has said at this time. I think our hearts have been in the right place with this project, and I think we attempted something new and interesting, and we had the energy to try to strive for that and to truly help the individuals that need it. And I'm very proud that we did that and that we had the courage to do that. But as I've said before, I think we're only one piece of this puzzle, and I don't think we have enough supports or resources to genuinely help the people that need it. And I would just be concerned, you know, for residents and the overall impact to the community once again. So for me, I would love to see us volley this back or open up a conversation with the province. They have dollars set aside that they were willing to give us for this pilot project. What other options could we have that we could use those for? Is there something we can facilitate in another way to actually arrange transport or arrange other resources for these people to truly, you know, benefit from and get the help that they, you know, need and deserve as well? And so I think that would be kind of where my mindset is currently.
Counselor Chova, did you want to weigh in on the round table? Yes, okay.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I definitely want to echo some of the thoughts that have been shared today. I don't think the town has capacity to run the shelter or to reopen the shelter. I think there's definitely a need that the town can support in a different capacity, but not to reopen and operate the shelter. We know that the need for the unhoused is not going to change anytime soon. And so my hope is that the town can support in whatever capacity any other body or in any other way to ensure that the unhoused get some support at least through the winter. Thank you.
Counselor Adams.
As I had said, I'm to redo exactly what we did makes no sense. I agree 100% in that course. The problem I have is us throwing our hands up and saying we're done. This, it does not help the unhoused. It doesn't help people in the middle of winter. I understand there are challenges with it. We do have to evaluate those challenges and come up, now that we have some experience, to correct those mistakes that were made. There were mistakes and we've acknowledged that. We learned from that and we move forward. This does not say that we necessarily agree to the province's framework on how we were supposed to run this. This opens up the door for us to go back and talk to the province and say, this is what we want to change. This is how we see it moving forward. This is what, from what we've learned, this could benefit. Whether that involves getting the help, getting the people to the help they need through transportation to the larger facilities, to the facilities that are available. Down the road, it'd be great when we do have the Peace River piece going, that it's a little closer to get there. It's a little closer to some of the communities that our region surrounds. So the transportation piece, I think, is important. But to fully stop anything from going forward, we took on this responsibility last year. I understand maybe we had the rose-colored glasses on and hoping that we could, with stability, we could do this. We've taken away that stability. And for us not to move forward, this is going to be a big problem. And I don't know if I can necessarily, I'd want to necessarily live with the consequences that could come out of this. I'm not saying to continue, like, I sound like a broken record, I guess. I apologize. I don't want it to look the same way it was. I agree 100% with that, but we need to do something at some point for some emergent piece. I don't know if it's about identifying individuals, if it's about identifying where this support needs to go and who gets in, but something that we've learned from our past experiences. And I'd love to have administration come up with that look and that framework and what we can, even talking as a group, what we can bring forward to the provincial government.
I will, I guess, broken record again as well. So I'll join you in that, Councillor Adams. I don't think our community is capable of supporting this. And I think running it at the town, we received funding under provincial grant stipulations that indicated it should be run a specific way with specific hours, with specific funding, with specific categories that the funding can be used on. It's very particular. I think we went into it with the best intentions, but I'm willing to admit that it did not work. and the consequences, some of which I believe we would have felt regardless of the shelter or not, due to the what has happened in, our cities and their efforts there. I think it was exacerbated. And I don't see a way in which our town is capable of running this to the expectations of the province, which is where the funding is coming from. Because as we all said at this table, we're not going to be putting our rate paying funds towards this. From what we have seen over the last year, or I guess it hasn't been quite been a year, but what we saw with the spring operations and the results of it, it doesn't work. And there are provincial resources available, albeit not often well accessed. And I know Councillor Choba in his role with WJS has seen a lot of access to, how to access transportation services, but Alberta Works has transportation services to detox and treatment. I know that there is some things, and I'm going to use the wrong terms, but with regards to municipal policing, you are able to access, getting people to where they need. There are ways to connect people to resources that don't involve us having such a drastic impact on public safety. So again, I am not in favor of resuming operations. Who else would like to weigh in? Go ahead, Councillor Mallam.
I see the navigation, I think it's called the Navigation Center that they've put in Edmonton. It's a huge facility. It was doing a lot of the same things that we were trying to do here. So they were helping people, sign up for social insurance numbers, getting them, help with finding a temporary place. They had said that there are enough beds available in Edmonton for more than the demand that they had in the city. So I echo maybe trying to look at maybe some transportation opportunities or possibilities with the province. I think it's a difficult pill to swallow. Our intentions, I think, were very good in the beginning, but it has turned into more work than I think we signed up for.
Councillor Adams.
I don't think it revolves around more work than we anticipated. I just feel what was given as the guidelines that we had to do to meet this funding were beyond what we were wanting or necessarily prepared for. That being said, again, for us to abandon anything and everything for the winter, I think is wrong. It's just morally wrong. We need to move forward with something. And I understand we don't want to put public dollars to this. I totally get that, like municipal dollars. That is something that I was very adamant about at the beginning. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't approach the provincial government to try and change the funding structure to the point that it can fit within the parameters that we're wanting to operate under and that we're willing and feel that we can be successful with. For us to just sit here and say we're not going to do anything and we're done, we took an opportunity, but at the cost of what was already implemented. So for us to just take a program that was struggling and operating for a decade, and we basically crushed that by doing this, and then within less than a year, throw up our hands and go peace out, I think is wrong. We have an obligation, we have a moral obligation to move forward. And maybe it's not the best sounding thing to come from for the public to swallow. I'd be one of them. I agree. But sitting here on council, we got to be above that. We're here for the entire community and what is right.
And I will say that, in my opinion, I still disagree that this is the right move for our community. And I think we need to look at the public safety as a whole. The motion was made to cease operations until the community could get public safety in order. And it's pretty apparent by our crime severity index and still are increases in the various areas of property crime, the reason motion was made was put public safety in order. And I do not believe we have reached that point yet. But that is, again, my opinion, and everyone at this council table is obviously more than entitled to theirs.
I understand your sentiments, Counselor Adams, and I completely agree with them. The thought of, I guess, the way that you're looking at it was saying that we're just going to abandon them obviously is not something that, I am okay with, but I'm also not okay with the reverse effects that this does have. And I think for me here, I'm also not convinced that our programming, whether we change the structure or we don't, is actually going to reach the people that needs it. I think looking historically around right now, how many homeless shelters have closed around the province because they are experiencing the exact same things? I don't know anymore what we could do differently here or what we could implement differently that will not, increase that public safety risk and still help people. And so that's why for me, I can't wrap my head around the town getting involved in it again when, statistically speaking, and in even speaking with board members on the advisory committee and all of the people that we have connected with, they have said similar things as well, that at the end or, even throughout the situation, the true people that needed help were not the ones accessing it. And so for me, I don't want to bring this back in and exacerbate the issue that we already have, as Mayor Ward said, that is, province wide. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like it cannot be the town administering this program when we really don't, like, even for you to say we could change the parameters of it, what would those parameters be? Because again, we don't know that we're going to have success in any way, and many shelters have tried and failed. And so I don't know.
Councilor Adams.
I understand the frustration that's coming from both of you. One, to say the CSI numbers are too high, they're actually lower than they were in 2019. So for us to use that as an argument, I think is whatever. The statement you're making about concerns on opening operations again. Yes, under the way we were doing it, I 100% agree we don't do it that way. And honestly, if the province is going to sit here and mandate that we must do it that way, then no, I'm not in favor of doing something. But for us to just stop, I'd rather try and fail and try and fail and try and fail than to just give up after 1 year, not even 6 months. I think is for us to throw up our hands. We're not doing any sort of service to our vulnerable population. We have learned, I think, from the experiences, both through community cooperativeness. We've had the COP come out of this. We've had increased RCMP presence within the community. That public relationship with the RCMP, I think, has improved dramatically. It's higher than I've starting on that upswing from what I've seen for a long time. Out of this, lack of a better word, darkness that we were in, I think we can see us going somewhere positive. And for us just to give up, I think is wrong. I agree, not how it was, not to just start it up and do the same framework. But I feel we need to do something, whether or not it's today we're deciding exactly what that framework is, doesn't make sense. But through our administration, our people that were working there, and the lessons learned and what we can pull from the community in the Northwest specifically, because they were the most impacted, I 100% agree there. From the learnings that we've gotten from the COP and what they see and what they could see to have it do better. Let's pull in these groups, come up with some sort of framework. I like the idea around the transportation piece, even if it involves us getting government funding to try and facilitate that transportation piece to get them where they need to have that help. For us to be that hub where we can help them get their IDs. We were very successful on that point, I must say, of getting IDs, getting their health services to them, getting those pieces. We helped. So we need to come up with some sort of framework or an attempt to get to that framework with the province. What does it hurt to try and get something in place that would help us get down this line? For us to throw up our hands and stick our head in the sand does not accomplish anything for anybody. For us to constantly chase them, the unhoused from location to location to location doesn't achieve anything. We're just chasing the problem in a circle. So whether that whatever that framework looks like, I'd like to have a discussion around that in a different capacity than right here at the table tonight. Because honestly, I'm not educated enough nor skilled enough to discuss that piece. Other than that, we should be moving forward to the province with something that is acceptable or palatable to us. And maybe in baby steps this time, not trying to do it all at once. Let's try little steps for success. Sorry, I landed there.
That's okay. Councillor Marlon.
I don't think we're throwing our hands up in the air and saying, we aren't doing anything if we're lobbying the province for transportation. Like I said, I think they've got their navigation center in Edmonton, I think does have the capacity, and I know they do have enough beds. So I think one of the avenues we should be looking at is transportation and what that looks like for our community.
And I will say, our program is not the only program that we ran, not the only program that has been run with regards to a MAP program that has had issues. There has been drug use, prostitution, harboring criminals at previous MAP programs, regardless of operator. It is not just that. So there are continual problems. And due to the lack of resources that unfortunately we all face in rural communities, we aren't equipped to handle it. What we can do is lobby for I guess transportation is the word, but it's more the point of connection. You would like to access shelter services somewhere safe. You would like to access detox and treatment. How do we connect individual A to those resources? So that connection, I can see lobbying for, identifying what individuals need, because I think we can all agree that each individual has different needs. Maybe someone needs a cell phone, maybe someone needs clothes, maybe someone needs somewhere for their animal to go. Each individual unhoused person has different needs. And I believe a method to have a blanket fix-all solution is not effective for our community. So I'm going to make a motion, and you can continue to discuss after, obviously, but I would make a motion to continue the suspension of operations and to not operate starting November 1st, 2024. So I made a motion. It is on the floor. Is there any further discussion, council? Councillor Adams.
We have time until November 1st to make this decision now to fully shut down absolutely everything. I think is, again, a mistake. We have time to be discussing with the province and opening up and continuing these discussions on how we can change this framework. So having a motion that defines right now that we're done everything, I think is a mistake. We need to, while we have this year, for lack of a better term, of the government on this program, let's see what we can do with it. Let's see what we can change. Let's see what we can achieve if it makes it more acceptable to our community. So I am against ruling this out entirely, much as I was ruling this out entirely in the first place. We need to have discussions, and we need to move forward with the government.
Councillor Hughes.
I understand what you're saying, Councillor Adams, but then at the same time, I also feel like we'd be putting ourselves in the position that we have every year where all of a sudden this doesn't work out with the province and it's November 15th and there's nothing in place again. And then we're even in a worse position than, doing a motion at this point in time. I would say that, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Same position as November.
Yeah, I think we're just going to find ourselves in a late to the game situation if we don't make a decision here today. I think saying that the town of Slave Lake is not prepared to take this on is is an okay thing, you know, to Councillor Ward's motion. I think a second motion to speak to administration, reaching out to the province is maybe needed as well. And honestly, this is kind of a moot point at the end of the day. As we've all said, the province has given funding with very specific strings. And so I think ultimately what we really need to do is reach out to them and say, this is where we're at as a community. This is what happened. We are looking to you for guidance. These are your funds that you have given us, because we can sit around here tonight all we want and discuss what we think is right. But as you pointed out, we're not experts in that field. We're not controlling the future dollars of this. They are. So that's my thoughts as of now.
Councillor Adams.
That is what I'm saying we do. For us to sit here and kibosh this puts us in the same boat. We're just saying, oh, we're not doing nothing earlier than we're not doing nothing on November 1st, like always happens for as long as I can remember. The point of having this discussion now, or that we can push this discussion with the province, is yes, it does have specific strings to it. Let's see if we can tweak those strings. Let's see if we can move that funding or change that funding to somehow enable us to help our most vulnerable population that we have within Slave Lake. For us to make this decision now, I think just kills it. We're done. There is no community, or there's no community groups that have stepped up for this. They've tried, they failed, they won't go back. We've had ones that say they will go back, and then we have ones that doesn't happen. So for us to quit now and throw this Hail Mary out there that someone's going to put up a MAP program that'll keep somebody from freezing to death at minus 57 this winter, I think is wishful thinking. I think I'd rather see us going to the province and trying to tweak something. If we can't tweak it by the deadline that they're setting forward for us, that they say you have absolutely no funding, or no, we're not going to help your community at all, even though it's our responsibility, province speaking, then that's when we have to make that hard decision. But until then, why would we just say we're done and walk away?
Well, for the exact reason you just pointed out, you don't know. None of us can sit here and say that there's not another group that has an appetite to do something, whether it is just an overnight MAT program. And they won't know that if they think the town of Slave Lake is or isn't doing something. If we keep people guessing for months at a time, we will run into the same situation that we've already had. And I think the difference here, Councillor Adams, is that you're still talking about trying to run a successful shelter program, whatever that looks like, right? Like essentially that's what you're still saying. I think for me, I'm saying I don't think it will work under any parameter. And I don't know that I am willing to put 7,000 residents through that again if we have alternative options that we can discuss with the province.
Councillor Adams.
Okay, so you're saying we don't run a MAT program because we are going to cause all this crime, but company B can run a MAT program and there'll be no crime.
I'm just pointing out that you're saying that we should hold on to this because no one else will have an appetite to do it. And I'm just saying, I think being very clear about our intention moving forward may bring that. It may spark someone else who maybe does want to help in some way. That's its own separate thing, but they're free to do as they choose. My point is that we're coming out as the town saying yes or no now, instead of leaving people hanging, wondering what's going to happen with this provincial discussion. I just don't think that that is going to be appropriate or helpful long-term is what I'm saying.
And I will jump in with, there's three things that I know. I know that I don't believe that we were able to run a successful 24/7 program. I know that this is a provincial responsibility. There were talks of mobile navigation centers and other resources being in the works, which would assist with rural communities like ours, and communities such as Leduc and Wetaskiwin, who all closed their shelters as well to push back on the province for the province to step up. The province did provide us with the funding and a model that did not work. So now we're saying, hey, in my opinion, at least I'm saying this didn't work for us and we need something different. And that something different needs to come at the direction of the province. I also know that this decision was made to cease the shelter due to public safety risk. And I do not believe that we have made strong enough strides to do that. And that is where I will end my rant on that. Does anyone else want to weigh in? Counselor Choba.
It's a very heavy conversation for sure. I think I just want to acknowledge that where we're at right now, and I'm kind of inclined to agree with Councillor Adams that we cannot just say bye-bye to everything. There remains a role for us as the town of Slave Lake in helping to address this. Now, what that role is at this point, I don't know. But my hope is that conversations about this can continue because this is our community. We have to step up somehow, whatever that looks like, if it's in guiding or providing support to another agency that wants to step in at that time, whatever that looks like. But to just, and I don't think this is what Mayor Ward or Councillor Hughes are trying to say, but to just wash our hands off of all of this and say no, is not a place that I'm comfortable with as well. So I think the conversation, or maybe the motion for me, maybe needs to be amended a little bit. And I don't know what that amendment will look like, but something that in there would say that lots of like there's going to be conversations between, you know, admin, or we're going to task admin with, you know, starting those conversations with the province, starting conversations with, you know, community members or community agencies that might be able to step into that role and to provide support.
I think these are two separate motions. There is a motion that is regarding the suspension of operations, which I have made. If other councillors would like to make motions after that, with regards to engaging the province to see what other alternatives there are, other than the shelter, that would be a motion that could be made, subsequent to that, or on, defeat of the motion. So those are the, I guess, I don't know how to say, the regulatory process of the motion. So there is a motion on the floor.
So
Yeah.
just maybe for the sake of refreshing it after a long discussion, would you like us to reread the motion so you're aware of what you're voting on?
I'm voting on continue the suspension of operations and to not operate starting November 1st, 2024 is the motion that I have on the floor. So I will call again. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Okay, motion on the floor. I will now call to question those in favor. All those opposed? And that is carried. Okay. Can we take a 5-minute break, please?
Okay, so as per regular, I've included a copy in your package today of the CIO update, and I'm just going to hit some of the highlights as we go through. Feel free to ask any questions on any of the points I've missed or discussed this evening. So under economic development, the rural renewal stream and grants coordinator position has been filled and has started work at administering the day-to-day operations of the program. The Economic Development Department has started their business visitation program this week. So the department, in partnership with Community Futures, has visited 38 businesses to date. They've solicited feedback, includes concerns over crime, infrastructure, taxes, livability, housing, and labor attraction and retention. And they've been delivering packages to all of the businesses, which includes introductory letter from Economic Development, Town of Slave Lake advertising opportunities, tournament and event marketing package, the agent program consent forms, rural renewal stream summary information, non-residential tax incentive program information, and the Community Futures Beautification Loan Program and the Community Future Programming Summary. So a whole bunch of information is going out to our businesses door to door. Under our finance department, the tax clerk position has been filled and the finance team is working on the training plan for the new employee. Our assessor is currently preparing letters for requests for information from certain ratepayers as per his listing of new developments in certain quadrants within the town. We will provide the assessor with a mailing list of our database and will prepare those letters and forms to be mailed out from our office with the timeline. Hopefully be mailed out by September 12th. This process was also done last year. Under our projects department, lots of updates on the report there today. I'm just going to hit a few of them. The policing study is progressing since June 20th. The stakeholder engagement is expected to be scheduled for early September. The government center exterior project improvements, so works relating to the painting of the louver posts, have been complete. The flashing work was repaired by Alberta Support Entrance. The louver itself are in bad shape, so we're requiring some immediate repair. And we'll be proceeding with some different options there. Park cameras have been installed in Hilldeven Park and Barton Park. Signage will be ordered for the installations. The MRC BMS system update is progressing. Majority of the task has been completed, just waiting for one last controller to be programmed and installed. We're working with the consultant to finalize the wayfinding map designed for the kiosk at the Rennie Hall Plaza. The installation should be complete the week of August 19th. And one last item that wasn't included on this report is there's a capital project for line painting testing that council may recall. What's happening is we're waiting for the Rennie Hall Plaza. There's or not Rennie Hall Plaza, Rexall. There's some repairs that need to be done in the catch basin there, which is where the kind of the stop bars and stuff would be painted. That's right in the test section. So what's happening right now is we're just waiting for that piece to be completed before proceeding. Kush had let me know that we're getting quotes with the potential implementation of that test project on Main Street being late August, early September.
But this section, forgive me if I missed it. Where are we at with the artwork?
Installation
Yeah.
on Main Street outside of Service Credit Union building.
I don't know if that's, so are you talking about the sign?
The one where the design was voted on, where we didn't like the size of the fish on it, and then that.
Yes, so I believe that's still in production. So I believe it's supposed to be done, it's supposed to be installed this summer, late this summer. They had to modify some of the electrical work that was included in behind had to be changed, but I don't have a delivery date on that, but I believe it was supposed to be coming here soon. So it should be a few weeks away, I would suspect.
Hey, perhaps if we can just inquire for next meeting on what the delivery date is. Counselor Hughes.
And maybe I've missed it, but the sign outside of town as well, that we were having problems lighting.
Yeah, so that is still, no, it has not been yet. There's still
Okay.
been kind of some red tape that we're getting through, whether it's regarding Alberta Transportation or ACCO. So I believe Kush again had a phone call on that earlier this week, and he's trying to get that expedited here as quick as possible.
Okay, so we're not forgetting about it.
No, not at all. It's reminded on every week or so. I ask the same question, and we're still it's still on the list. There's just unfortunately there's a lot of things on the list for one person on the position. So
Okay.
Counselor Moala.
I just want to say I love how Hilldeven Park is turning out. I think we're getting so you know, if you use that park regularly, if you drive by that park on some of these sunny days, it's getting used a ton in the daytime and in the evening. I do find a lot of kids and adults actually in the back there playing soccer. And I know we used to have the soccer nets in the back there. They were taken out. I'm wondering if we can find those nets and put them back in there, because right now you just got kids using jackets. You have adults playing, and I think we do have that back space. I'd like to see those nets back up there at some point.
Shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay. So under our planning and development, so work for the short-term rental project is nearing completion. The consultant is finishing work on the project summation report, highlighting the results of the background report, the 2 surveys and the open house. So that's coming to council with the draft legislation. The consultants with Green Space Alliance are currently working on the draft municipal development plan. We've received a draft of the first What We Heard report, a summary of the first survey, public advisory committee meetings, technical advisory meetings, and the first open house was held for this project. The planning department also conducted a one-day session on June 10th, where they visited downtown businesses and provided an information package on the new vending on public lands program. In our protective services fire department area, some items under the enforcement program. Bylaw enforcement's been working varied shifts along with Apex Security. Bylaw officer continues to work varied shifts and in collaboration with Apex. The agent program sign up has begun. Town staff, bylaw, and Apex are all registering businesses owners. Callers have called dispatch looking to sign up as well. So we're getting a fairly good uptick in the program. Under community services, maintenance and repairs will be beginning here shortly for the NLC pool. Some of the things that are going to be done is hot tub and pool backwash, girls' change room showers fixed, some washrooms repaired, men's change room shower stalls fixed, diving boards repaired, CL2 tanks ordered and switched. So a number of items that are being taken place over the next year or next month, sorry. Under facilities and parks, maintenance in Arena 1 was completed while the ice was out, and deep cleaning of the bleachers and outside of the boards, painting of the bleachers and multiple walls around the rink was done. Multiple hockey camps were hosted at MRC throughout July and into August. We're continuing to work with contractors to install the hot water tanks at MRC, coating on Poplar Grove Park, half-court basketball court, lines on the Poplar and Hilda Even basketball courts, and executing some preventative maintenance on HVAC units at multiple facilities for the upcoming winter season. Under recreation and programming, the Summer Splash program is averaging 34 kids a day so far, with a total of 101 children participating in the camp. That is my report.
Councillor Adams.
I just have a general question along the lines of the hot water tank upgrade. For what's there currently, you said we didn't get funding for the efficiency increase wasn't enough. Have we explored like tankless systems or anything like that? Or why are we choosing to go tanks, I guess would be my question.
I think there are, yeah, we have. Short answer, I mean, I don't have all the technical discussions, but I know they did explore those. Just by virtue of the distance of the water needs to travel to service all of the different showers and the different rooms like that. A tankless, centralized tankless system would be difficult, and it would be under-resourced or underpowered to be able to service all of the needs of there. You would have to go. Yeah, you'd have to have almost individual or sharing or multiple higher level or multiple of tankless systems or basically changing the plumbing of the entire system there to evolve something like that. So they have looked at it, it wasn't viable.
And that wouldn't have reached our efficiency targets to get the funding then?
No.
Okay. I keep going, or is there anybody?
Yep,
All
you
right.
can continue.
For the agent program we referenced a few times, the one from the town, I understand you sign up with an agent program in order to get a bylaw to do agency. If you want, sorry.
Apex. It's the same program.
Is it the
exact same
same
program? Yeah. So
and RCMP?
correct.
So
Yeah,
you don't have to sign up 3 times?
No.
Okay.
No, just all 3 people pushing the same program.
Excellent. Thank you.
Counselor Moala.
I think in the past, we used to get included in these reports the number of new business licenses issued, I think at one time. And I haven't seen that in a while, so maybe that's just one of the figures I'd like to see as part of this as well.
Yeah, I believe it's, I think for the one of the main differences here for this year, or this report compared to last month's report, is our Director of Finance was not here to write this version for you. So if you were to refer back to previous CAO reports, I think you would see that that is typically something that was included by Director Schmidt,
Yep.
but for this report, it was not. So
Okay, well, it's just something that I'd like
Yeah.
to see in the future, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Counselor Adams.
Motion to accept as information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Called question, those in favor? And that is carried. Management task list.
As presented, and any questions, I'll gladly answer.
Counselor Adams. Sorry, but you made a noise.
Motion to accept as information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Called question in favor? And that is carried. Let's move into question period. Any questions for administration? Counselor Moala.
I just, this is, well, it's kind of a question, but a direction as well. But as I was coming to council this morning, I noticed a big giant branch hanging off a big giant tree over the 3rd Street Northwest. I think that we need to get utilities in there just to cut that limb off. It's just on the west side of the tracks on 3rd Street Northwest, just over the railroad. Just get someone to look at it. I think I would hate, that looks like it is going to fall over right over the tracks, and want to make sure that everyone's safe.
Yep, we can take a look. I mean, if you see those things happen in the future, just so that we don't necessarily have a delay in the safety aspects, 849-8000 reports all issues, go to the corresponding departments. They'll rectify it right away as opposed to 10 hours later, right? Yeah. But I will make sure that operations is aware of it.
Counselor Hughes.
Just wondering if we are leading the charge again on a back to school presence when that comes here in the next couple weeks with school zones and also the new reduced limit that we will have by E.G. Wallstrom.
Yeah, so when our Fire Chief Pavlik comes back, that's typically one of the elements that he helps coordinate, right? So that increased presence and we'll put the signs out that are just reminding people of the increased slow-in presence. The RCMP, I won't speak for them, but typically that's naturally included in their sort of operations. They recognize their schools are back, so their officers are out a little bit more. Unfortunately, we don't have a CPO currently on staff, right? So, I mean, we'll utilize our bylaw services as best we can and kind of coordinate that message and try to, at the very least, get that, that information out, or just to remind people to be mindful of extra little bodies walking around, going to and from school. So yeah, absolutely. It's part of our regular process and will continue to be.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions? Okay, let's move forward into our committee minutes. Slave Lake Regional Tourism Society.
Okay, well, we are thrilled with the success of our Beach Fest 2024 event that was just this past weekend. We saw over 3,000 people come out for the weekend's events. The weather was absolutely gorgeous and definitely played a factor there. We collected data at the entrance to the event, and I'm happy to report that the majority of attendees were families from various locations all over Alberta, with the majority of them actually coming from the greater Edmonton area. They stayed in local campgrounds and hotels for the duration of the weekend. We even saw some guests that actually visited us from Montreal, New Mexico, Texas, and even Denmark. I would be remiss if I did not mention that it took over 65 volunteers, 10 members of our board, and many, many local businesses and sponsors to help make this event a huge success. Special thank yous from myself going to our platinum sponsors, West Fraser, Vanderbilt Contractors, and Miller Western, as well as to Traveling Timbers, who is a large supporter of us as well. We wouldn't have been able to pull off the event without them. And in other tourism news, the final draft of our strategic plan has been released to myself and board members, and we are continuing moving forward with our regional tourism growth strategy, and will continue to present to municipalities and First Nations over the coming months.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Naming Advisory Board.
Yeah, so I don't have that much to report. The group did meet and we just reviewed the naming committee list and just went through that.
Okay, thank you. MPC.
Okay, I could talk about that as well. Yeah, the summer wasn't very busy, but the group did meet to discuss and approve a discretionary development permit for a business in the downtown core.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Motion to accept the committee minutes as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I'm going to need that down to see Andrew. That's okay. Call to question those in favor. Thank you. Okay, correspondence, Rail Safety Week. There is correspondence included in the package regarding a resolution in support of Rail Safety Week. CN is asking for the 23rd to the 29th of September to be declared Rail Safety Week in the town of Slave Lake. Councillor Adams.
I waited that time.
Thank you. There was a pause.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution in support of Rail Safety Week. You have to read this, or this is?
I have to read this.
Yeah.
There's a
That
motion.
Frankie puts that on there.
There's a motion on the floor in support of Rail Safety Week. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Sorry, you're going to have to listen to my voice for a brief moment longer. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 23rd to 29th, 2024, whereas 229 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2023, resulting in 66 avoidable fatalities and 39 avoidable serious injuries. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway rights of way are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise safety awareness, rail safety awareness. Whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested Town Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality, the town of Slave Lake. Okay.
Nicely done.
State of the Lake, Councillor Moallem.
Didn't even have my hand up.
You did not.
I would just like to congratulate minor baseball, Slave Lake minor baseball, on another successful season. The U11s finished with a gold medal this year. The U13s finished with a silver medal this year. And the U18s also finished with a silver medal this year as well. I want to thank the coaches and the parent volunteers that helped make this season so successful. Without their love and passion for the sport, none of the success for Slave Lake is possible. So thanks to all of them and congratulations.
Is that it? Councillor Hughes?
I did touch on Beach Fest already, but it just got me thinking about volunteerism in our community and just how crucial it is to events like Beach Fest, Riverboat Days, all of the summertime events that we all know and love and really enjoy locally. And so I just want to say thank you to every volunteer in the community that signs up for 1 or 2 hours of their time. Sometimes it can be like pulling teeth, but you know, giving that up has such a great impact on our community and any growth that we see. And so I just really want to highlight that for people. It's truly amazing to see people step up last minute. And these things would not happen without those individuals. And I feel like more and more as we continue to see this success and shout these people out, that heart of volunteerism, hopefully within the town of Slave Lake, will come back as well. And that's really what I would hope to see. So if you see somebody who's volunteering, please tell them they're doing a good job. Please pat them on the back and shout that out to them as well, because they deserve it. And we really do need to honor and acknowledge those people, especially nowadays when it is becoming more and more rare. And so with that in mind as well, I did want to give a little shout out to our tourism administrator, Shauna Fiddler. She spent months and months of lots of hard work and planning and all sorts of chaos to make this event happen as well. And so she deserves high acknowledgement and praise for her efforts in the event as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Counselor Adams.
Motion go into closed.
Motion on the floor, call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Andrew, need